Shwmae pawb, croeso nôl I Time Space Visualizer. Heddiw, ydyn ni'n siarad am pennod newydd Doctor Who, 73 yards.
Hello and welcome back to Time Space Visualizer. We are here reviewing 73 Yards, the new episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean I would have subtitled that anyway, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
well, just in case people can't read.
Yeah, we're doing another garden pod.
Yes.
Because it's better than news again. I think this is going to be possibly the most divisive episode of the whole series.
Yeah, it confuddled me last night.
Yeah, I think... I mean, we both watched it twice now, and it made a lot more sense to me second time around.
Yeah, I was able to put things together better this time round. I think there's mostly down there. I was really tired last night as well.
Well, we did watch it at midnight after we'd been down the pub for a bit as well.
Yeah, so it was probably not the best time. It's still good to watch, don't get me wrong, but yeah, things sort of pieced together a bit more for me on the rewatch.
Yeah, I think it's weird because it's almost given me a bit more time to like digest things. And now after watching it again, I've definitely got a bit more of a grasp on what was going on.
Yeah.
It's just, I can see why some people might watch this and see, oh, this is well confusing and not engaged with it at all. And that's fair enough, you know, some people prefer to have everything explained.
On a plate, like...
Yeah, not necessarily even in, like, it's sort of saying that in a bad way, but you know what I mean? Like, they sort of like everything being explained and wrapped up and stuff. Whereas me, I don't mind having these things where they're a bit more ambiguous because it lets people form their own, because there's bits in this where you can sort of have your own thoughts on what is happening, which we'll get into. First thing, though, I want to highlight, as obviously written by Russell T Davies, directed by Dylan Holmes Williams, and broadcast on the 25th of May 2024, which is today.
Yes.
One thing I want to talk about first is just the whole episode is directed spectacularly.
Yeah.
Dylan Holmes Williams, come back and do more, please, because it was really, really, I mean, like, you got big wide shots of locations and stuff, and then really effective use of close-ups, and I'm very critical of close-ups in Doctor Who, but this used them well.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene in the bar was brilliant. It really helped the tension, having those close-ups and stuff. It really did good.
We start with Doctor and Ruby on a cliff top in Pembrokeshire.
Yes.
Which is fun for me, because that was where I grew up.
Yeah.
And it's where...
It make you emotional, does it?
Well, I bet as emotional as a cliff does. It was just cool to see it, like, oh, there's birds again. But this stuff, so we have the Doctor and Ruby stepping into this sort of charmed, like, circle, and that then sets the wheels in motion for the rest of the episode. The Doctor disappears, because, and I think I predicted this was going to be the Doctor Light one, so that's a point for me.
Yeah, I think we said when you saw that clip before the episode yesterday, where you just see them looking at the fairy circle,
and it sort of pans.
It just pans to Ruby. It's kind of giving it away that it's going to be Dr. Light at that point for me. I didn't say nothing just in case I was wrong, but like I do feel it was Dr. Light, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I made that prediction. You predicted a different episode was going to be Dr. Light.
Yeah, I did, yeah, to be fair.
1-0.
No, I thought the Legend of Ruby Rose was going to be Dr. Light. If
Ruby Rose?
Ruby Sunday. Sorry. Rewatched Orange is the New Black, sorry.
Anyway, back into Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, I think the vibes and the atmosphere in this are spot on. I think people are going to be a bit more critical of story, but I think performance-wise, direction, all of that, the sort of almost superficial type things from the story are all nailed.
Oh, it's brilliant. For that. It's absolutely incredible. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I think we've said it as well, this is one of the first episodes filmed for the new series, because Ncuti Gatwa is obviously tying up his stuff with sex education.
Yeah, they said that on Unleashed. Stefan said that it was the first one that they filmed. Yeah. It was his first day filming Unleashed and everything. It was quite interesting to see, how. And I'm fair play to Millie Gibson though, because she carries this episode on her own back at the age of 18. Like, not many 18-year-old actors, not many actors in general can carry an episode of Doctor Who on their own. But to do that at 18 is really, it's an achievement.
It's incredible.
It's really well done.
She was bloody brilliant in this.
She's great. I think, I think people might look at this. I mean, I haven't actually looked at Twitter or anything, so I don't know what the reactions are. I've seen it's been a bit mixed on, in our social circles and stuff, because we watched it with everyone. I have no idea what people are making of this, which is good, because it means that this is my completely unfiltered opinion that hasn't been sort of like subconsciously
corrupted, like.
corrupted is one word for it. Ruby then is trying to sort of investigate why this woman is constantly the same distance from her, no matter where she goes. Whether she goes towards her, she moves back. She goes backwards, the thing moves towards her. She meets Susan Twist on the cliff tops, and almost has that moment of recognizing her, being like, don't I know you? No. And there's that sort of, I highlight the fact that they're seeding that into it now.
Yeah.
Because we're obviously going to get some answers towards the end of the season, or at least I hope so. And it's quite fun to do that, not in like a sort of, oh my gosh, but you look like that ambulance that I saw. It was just quite nice and subtle.
Yeah.
This chair's going backwards. I could fall into a fence at any point. My garden's on a slope.
You'll be fine. No, you're against the fence. You can't fall.
Oh, thank God for
You're
that.
fine.
Yeah, we're on a slope in the garden.
Yeah.
Just because I thought it was nice to have a bit of a change, but there we are. So I got some questions that I think are the quite obvious ones, and speaking to the boys and everything about what they thought of it and the questions they had, and I'm going to put them to you for your fan theories. This is basically like another sort of mini fan theories thing. So the woman, we're going to do full spoilers for this, by the way, so if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, come back. The woman is obviously old Ruby, we know that, but what is she saying to people to make them run away and completely turn on Ruby and leave her?
It's £5 for a pint of Coke.
Well, I'm glad to see he's taking it seriously. No,
Yeah.
I really like the sort of that we don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, my reading of it is that she's turning people against Ruby, and it's all her fault. It's to do with the fact that, you know, it's to do with Ruby's sort of self-worth, I suppose, in a way, and it's sort of almost like she's telling these people these things that you have to stay away from her and you can't do anything about it. But what is it? The specifics of it we'll never know, and I think that really plays into the horror quite well.
Yeah, I reckon it might be something that ties into the end of the series, maybe.
I would be very surprised if we don't get a further explanation to certain
Yeah.
things in this by the end of the series.
Yeah, especially with Russell at the helm.
Yeah.
He likes to tie up this is a fairly big plot point now.
He even
I'd
said
say.
in his tease that it's a very important episode, and like we could come away from this game and it's quite filler, because especially with the ending of it, none of it really happens anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that there's more to this than we
Meets
might
the eye.
initially think.
Yeah. That's fine, it just means more rewatches. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, this one really held up on the rewatch.
It was brilliant.
I much preferred this.
Yeah.
I much preferred the second time round.
Yeah, it definitely helped being a bit more awake.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still exhausted. I did a 5k this morning. I'm just
I
pooped.
had a fry up, so we had very different mornings.
I'll happily swap. So we get to a rural pub then, which is filmed the absolute other end of Wales, somewhere just outside Caerphilly.
Yeah.
Which was quite weird on Unleashed, but that's just TV, innit? And we go into this rural pub, and it's full of these very sort of typical rural Welsh pub dwellers, and it all gets a bit spooky.
Witchcraft.
£5 for a pint of Coke. We meet
Yeah.
Sean Phillips,
Cardiff
who's
prices, mind.
yeah, it's not far off, to be fair.
No.
I've never paid £5 for a Coke before, but it's not bloody far off.
I paid £3.80 for a Coke this morning.
Was that like even a full sugar one or like a diet one?
Diet.
Or, yeah,
So
see,
full sugar's even more.
what kind of world are we living in?
I know, it's a joke.
Sean Phillips, I thought, was great, but she was wasted.
Yeah.
Sean Phillips is a fantastic actress, and to get her in Doctor Who like this, she's a big name, like guest star. You know, you get someone like Sean Phillips, you don't want to give her this. It almost feels like a cameo in a way, but she
Yeah.
plays that really sort of. She's the spooky, knowledgeable one in the pub. You know, she's
The wise old lady.
wise old lady. Yeah, she is in a Big Finish Torchwood, where she plays one of the most despicable people ever. She's in this Torchwood episode with basically, I won't give it away because I would like to do some of the Torchwood audios after Eighth Doctor stuff, but she plays basically this woman who was running a children's hospital, like a children's home, and was murdering them and abusing them, and she is horrific, but the performance is like, it'll blow your mind. It's so good. And so when she was going to be in Telly Doctor Who, I thought, oh yeah, this could be great, and she's in it for about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, just to give like almost like a sort of ghost story you'd tell your kid
Yeah,
before bed.
it almost felt like a bit of a waste in a way.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. That's TV. So everyone's getting a bit spooky, and Ruby's sort of like, well, what about the woman over there? Can you all see her? And they all start to like play into this thing about Mad Jack and everything, and Mad Jack is unbound, and the knocking starts happening, and it really ramps the tension up quite well. And I would have been very happy.
Especially with the lightning as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned Mad Jack, that was brilliant.
I was really hoping that we were going to get a full-on like horror story, and I would have been happy for this episode just to be set in that pub and have a real like claustrophobic horror story. And the knocking gets louder and louder. Ruby opens the door, and it's just a man delivering some pies. It's that sort of comedy, and it's the way they wind Ruby up, because and even Sean Phillips' character goes, you know, it's a bit racist, really. You know, you all come around here think we're all druids and, you know, witches and everything, and they play into that as well with when Ruby tries to pay for a drink on her phone, she's like, "Can I pay on my phone?" I'm like, "What do you mean pay on your phone?"
Yeah.
Like, and they sort of, she's going like, "I can pay on my phone," sort of almost talking down to people, which English people do have a tendency to do sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, and you got the bloke as well, John, I think his name is, just saying, "Oh yeah, here next week we're getting Christianity."
Yeah, really winding them. I quite like the pro-Welsh stuff in this. I mean, I'm heavily biased by that, but it is a bit weird though, the way it's done with Roger a bit later though, sort of being like, "Oh, well, I've been oppressed by the English, and my whole like ancestors have been oppressed by the English, and so I want nukes." And it's like a little bit of an overreaction, but there's a bit more to him than meets the eye, because he basically is the my reading of this. I completely be way off by this, and I would like people to tell me whether they agree or disagree. I think that Roger Ap Gwilym is the sort of manifestation of the Mad Jack spirit that Ruby breaks in the circle. Well, the Doctor breaks it. This is one thing Bugbearer did have. It should have been Ruby that breaks the circle, because the curse is on her, not the Doctor. So they take the Doctor out of the situation because.
But then equally, Ruby was reading all the.
I suppose that could have been it. Maybe. Yeah.
So the Doctor breaking the circle kind of unleashed the spirit, but then Ruby actually opening up and reading everything and messing with everything, that's probably what got her cursed.
So yeah, exactly. So my thing with Roger, who's played by an Iron Barnard, the spirit of Mad Jack, or he's sort of like the manifestation of that, whoever this Mad Jack is. And who is Mad Jack? The original Mad Jack?
Well, someone who loved drinking in the pub in Caerphilly, I believe they mentioned.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, no, that's just Caerphilly.
Joking, we love all of our Caerphilly fans.
Yes.
Thank you for the cheese.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I like that as well. That's quite ambiguous. Like, it's not sort of like, it could be quite easily explained as, oh, it's an alien spirit or something that's possessed him. It's just like, it's more the manifestation. It's the abstract concept which really like butters my croissants in Doctor Who. And
very French.
Oh oui oui. But yeah, I really like that they leave stuff like that ambiguous. So you could have, maybe Roger Ap Gwilym is just a lunatic and it's a coincidence, and timey-wimey stuff is where the name comes from.
Well, he calls himself Mad Jack as well.
Yeah, he's a jack of all trades. He's a Mad Jack.
Mad Jack, some might say.
That's where I got because they put that in there enough so you could just sort of go, oh, maybe this is the Mad Jack manifestation. Yeah. And you're doing all these different jobs as him, sort of like symbolising of this Mad Jack character going across different generations. Can you tell I have been thinking about this for ages. I'm loving it.
Because obviously you get to the point where the old Ruby, who we found out is the woman, the mysterious woman at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Whenever anyone went up to her, and obviously she was saying to them something and made them run away. I honestly thought like that they might get themselves possessed on that one, and then it would just be more people, and then eventually you'd have a load of people just like sort of popping up 73 yards away from Ruby.
Yeah, 100%. I also really like some of the transition shots that was done where Ruby's looking out the window at night time and the woman's doing the same movement that she repeats over and over and over again, and it cuts to day, but at the exact point, at a certain point during the movement, so it looks like she hasn't been affected, but the whole day has changed around, and that was really cool. There were some shots on the train that were great. Yeah. The direction of this is wonderful. So Ruby then basically still can't find the Doctor, goes back to London, and we get some more Carla and Cherry, which is always welcome because we love Cherry Sunday.
Yes, we do. She is an
icon. I like the fact that, you know, she goes back, and there's obviously been a bit of time passed because Carla's quite familiar with sort of the Doctor. She's travelling with the Doctor, which we didn't see, which I'm a bit gutted that we haven't seen that, and maybe we will at some point, that sort of initial
that interaction.
Contact.
Yeah, because you see the TARDIS pop up in Space Babies in Ruby's home, don't you? And it wrecks the kitchen.
Yeah, we just haven't seen enough of that build-up for me yet. But I'm sure we will.
Because I feel by now you should have had more of an interaction between the Doctor and Ruby's family, because you've seen it with everyone else.
Carry on.
The Doctor's always had like 4 or 5 episodes in. He's established a bit of a relationship with his companion's family.
Yeah.
Obviously with Rose and Martha, obviously flip reverse on the relationships, but
yeah.
I'd want to see more on.
It just kind of happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's fine, but you know, overall, I would have just liked to have had a bit more of an organic fleshing out of this. And you get that really good moment where the camera's on Ruby, and you see her sort of looking away at Carla and the woman, and Carla's on the phone and Ruby's like, what does she look like? Or she looks like what she looks like. She looks like what she is, and then bolts it. And you hear anything that the woman said, but she's clearly said something to Carla to make her turn on her own daughter and completely bolt it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what has she said that's been so horrible it's made her turn her back on Ruby?
Yeah.
It's really, and the fact that you could just hear Carla scream down the phone as well, like, it's that unknown kind of thing that really just,
Yeah,
but just my crumpets.
You've got that scene as well where Carla's in that slow-mo of Carla driving past in a taxi and Ruby running after her like, don't leave me, like, and then all of the phone calls to Carla as well from Ruby, and then she the locks have been changed on the flat, she sat outside the door, like, come on, please let me back in, and she's like, not even your real mother wanted you.
Yeah, that was horrible. It was like, because Michelle Greenidge is great, because we saw her do a similar thing in Church and Ruby's Road as well, where she switches to this sort of darker, alternative Carla.
I was about to say evil, but it's not. It's just...
It's quite evil to kick your own daughter. It's not her fault, because she's been affected by the woman, but... out of that context, it would be considered as evil. Because the way she just turns and says stuff like that, horrible things, like you said about her being, well, you're not even your own mother wanted you and stuff, you're not mine and all that, and just disowns Ruby effectively, leaving her on her own.
Puts an injunction out against her as well.
Yeah, we get sort of the next scene then is about 12 months later, and she's in, I don't know if it's meant to be Newport, but it looks like Newport.
It is Newport. It is the middle of Newport High Street. Right there in the Wetherspoons.
Yeah, subway across the road, and she's sort of there, and then we get a surprise cameo from Kate, which was cool. I obviously knew Kate was going to be in it, and I saw these shots of them too. I just assumed that was part of the finale. I didn't think it was going to happen here. I was quite surprised to see Kate pop up. I was like, oh, this is nice.
It'll be interesting going forward now after this interaction, see how, like, what's changed. Because obviously, as you said, nothing happened. But because UNIT are all a lot more trained and exposed to all of that, do you reckon there's something lingering?
Well, they could maybe be aware of sort of like the alternative timeline type thing, maybe something to do with the Vlinks, I don't know. But that could, but then again, if that's the thing. My one issue with the sort of ending, which we'll get to, is the fact that all of this character development for Ruby and everything is all undone because no one remembers it.
Yeah.
And we think, we as the audience do, and it helps us to get to know Ruby, but for character-wise, none of that, it all reverts back to that first landing on the cliff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the cool link between the TARDIS perception filter landing near the circle is what's stopping everyone else from being bothered by this woman. Like, why does this woman keep following that girl around? Everyone sort of knows she's there but doesn't really care, like it's sort of in the back of their mind and everything.
Ruby even said she put her in front of a police car and the police car just kind of moved around her like nothing.
Yeah, I like that sort of well thought out thing, because a lot of people could have thought, well, why is nobody else? I know they're not targeted by her, but surely everyone else would be like, oh, this woman stood outside again or something.
Yeah, you'd notice seeing a woman just stood there for doing hand signals and stuff.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really liked that. One thing I didn't think worked particularly well is how extreme the time jumps get.
Yeah. It's that suffering from the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, I said my first takeaway from this I put on Twitter yesterday was I know it's like not going to change anytime soon, but ideally in an ideal world I don't want any more 45-minute episodes of Doctor Who because there's just not enough time. This should have been a two-parter.
Yeah.
Let alone
we were saying this last night.
They should have finished when Ruby's sort of going through the motions of the time jump, and then you have that as your folk horror, and then the second part is sort of like the political takedown type thing. Because that was so rushed. That was something that's a bit of an issue for me with this that really stops me rating it higher than I do, and I rate it quite highly anyway. But
it's the same with Boom and the resolution to that.
It just kind of happens.
It speeds up. It's more like the distance. I want to say digital tape measure thing on the phone.
Yeah.
It's just a bit more happenstance than.
Logic I mean, thing. I can sort of I can buy into the phone distance thing because we are like, we're 30 years in the future,
like in the show, but
20 years in the future rather.
Like all of this is just kind of sped along, and again, I think same as last week, it just needs that. If it's not a two-parter, it just needs that extra 10-15 minutes just to flesh out that ending a bit more.
Yeah, because I feel like some of the stuff with Roger was very much like it was telling us he's bad guy.
Yeah, it was just like, he is bad guy. He wants to nuke the world, don't like him.
Yeah, and it was like overly making him unnecessary villainous because they have that weird. Another thing that really didn't sit right with me is when they sort of hinted at the fact that he's quite abusive to his like female staff, because they mentioned that there's one woman who he wants her at a party one-on-one, like, and they ask for her by name and stuff, and it's like that's too much of a sensitive topic to do so like haphazardly and a bit slapdash. I get that you're not going to go fully into that because at the end of the day, Doctor Who is a family show. It's a pre-Watershed show. You're not going to get too deep into that, but
you can elaborate on it without going into it being that deep.
Yeah, I think if you can't do it properly and do it justice and tell a very sensitive, story, then I don't think it's worth doing, because it comes across as a bit like, oh, why do that? We already know he's evil. He wants to nuke everything. You don't need to. It's just playing into that, like, he's really, really bad, and you just think.
Yeah, well, we kind of worked that out from when he said he wanted to nuke everyone.
Yeah, it's just a bit too like going, well, here's a sensitive issue. We're just going to sort of drop it in here and not really do anything about it.
Chibnall vibes.
It's not even that. It's just a victim of the time slot, and I think if it were me, I'd have looked at this and gone, no, actually, I don't think we need the abusive side to him, because he's already a power mad.
Yeah, he's already established himself as evil.
And that sort of like, that sort of power mad stuff, you can imply that that's happening without even saying it, because these people get what they want.
Yeah, and I know obviously Roger Ap Gwilliam wasn't the focus villain of this episode, but I still wanted a bit more of a character flesh out for him.
Yeah.
Because as you said, this is very much, he is bad, don't like him, this is bad guy. But you can't really do anything with that. You're being told to not like him, but you don't know a lot about him to not like him.
Yeah.
It's just like you need to, with the Master, you're kind of given a hint that he is a bad guy, but then he goes through the episodes that he's in just making worse and worse decisions to destroy people and other planets and stuff that just makes you hate him in that way. Like, they've done a lot with the character, and obviously they're not going to keep Roger Ap Gwilliam on for nearly over 60 years of Doctor Who, but like they could do it couldn't hurt from having that sort of flesh out.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. I wouldn't mind seeing him again, like in the prime timeline kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a bit more of like a delve into that sort of thing. But like I said, is that even possible? Is he just a construct of the Mad Jack, conscience, I suppose? I
don't know, because the Doctor mentions Roger Ap Gwilliam at the start.
Oh yeah, to be fair, yeah, he does exist.
He does exist, but like the thing that could make him the worst Welsh person ever could be this Mad Jack stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just lots of theories.
That's what I love about this, though. It's just so many different ways you can interpret it. One more quick thing I wasn't too fussed on before we get into the ending and sort of wrap up and everything. And this isn't me trying to pile on this in an overly critical way, because I understand the reasons why, but the attempts to make Ruby in her 40s don't quite work, but that's because you've got an 18-year-old actress. It's not easy to make someone look 40, especially when all they've done is give her some glasses and a wig. It's performed well though, but it's just looks-wise, because you can tell that she's playing it with a bit more of like a subtle maturity thing, and she's not playing this sort of like wide-eyed
Young
teenager.
Kid, yeah.
You can tell that she's matured a bit, but all they've done is give her glasses and a wig. And you think, but there's not much more you can do without sort of really dodgy-looking prosthetics or just a recast, and that doesn't work.
No.
I can see why they did it, but it's more just me little nitpicking a bit, because I don't know how else you would do that.
Yeah, there's no real other way of doing it without the dodgy prosthetics.
Yeah, and I hate old age makeup. I think it always looks a bit rough.
Yeah.
I can't think of many times where I can't think of many times in Doctor Who where it works.
No.
Off the top of my head. I mean,
David Tennant, maybe, in the Sound of Drums.
Yeah, see, that one I don't know. I'm like, is this really good or is this really poor makeup? It's one or the other, and I can't decide which way of the crossroads I'm going. I can't. It's really weird. It like blows my mind. But then
you get that animation of him as like where he's in the bird cage.
Yeah.
And then it's just Anyways, we're rambling.
Yeah, but off topic. The ending. What do you think? Because you said you were still a little bit confused by things. Where's your confusion lying? Because I've got a theory as to what happened. So I just want to hear where your thoughts are with it.
So, obviously with the ending we see old Ruby become the woman that's haunting young Ruby, and it's just when like that last scene, it was obviously the most horror scene of the thing for me, where it was just
great.
It was brilliant, really well directed, and I was just thinking, I was like, hang on, so if old Ruby is the woman, has she just killed herself, or?
So my take on it was that so Ruby uses her future self, like the woman, brings her into the right distance so she can scare off William. So that's that Mad Jack stuff stopped, and then has to then wait until her natural death to become the woman, to then go back in time to deliver the message to her younger self to stop the Doctor stepping into the circle in the first place, making sure none of it happens. So the trap essentially binds not just Mad Jack, but the way to rebind him and stop all of that happening. They're two in the same. So Ruby stops William, lives out the rest of her natural life, dies of natural causes. As she's slipping away,
Death by scary woman.
No, but that's what I mean. I think it's her natural death. She's dying of old age, and as she's dying, she becomes the woman. The woman then goes back to the moment where the circle's broken, has that whispering moment of don't step, don't step, don't step. So as the Doctor puts, oh, Ruby goes, don't step, crisis averted, that timeline never happened, and the spirits are still bound.
Okay.
Drops mic.
That does make a bit of sense, actually.
I don't often feel smart.
No, that does make a lot of sense.
I was piecing it all together, like I said when I was going for a run this morning. I was like, I think I've got it. And then once I watched it again, it all clicked into place. So it's one of those ones, and it doesn't this isn't like a cast thing either. It could just be one of those weird things of like, oh, it's a time reverse and everything by itself. It might not have even been that, but that's my take on it, because I love that this episode you can do that. Like, you can come up with your own reason for it, and it still works.
There's no definitive answer as of yet.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah,
I really like that.
It generally was a really fun episode to watch, because it just kept you going, like, it just kept you hooked and wanting to know more, but at the same time it was telling you things, but was equally giving nothing away.
Yeah, and I really like that.
It really kept you in that sweet spot.
And once I put that thing together, I then rewatched it. It was like, yes. So while this isn't like, it's not a 10 out of 10, hot take, I think this is my favourite so far.
What did I give Boom?
I can't remember, but I know you really liked it.
I think I gave it about an 8. I'd go 7.5 on this. Boom's still my favourite so far, but I think that's more down to, I'm going to have to rewatch this a bit just to, especially now after I've heard yours as well, just to see. That'll probably change it, but it's just one of those you might have to rewatch a bit just to see if there's bits you've missed.
Yeah.
Like, this is the second time we've watched it, and we've been having to be critical with it, whereas the other ones, we've watched it twice before, we've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But then even in the second one, you're starting to be that little bit more critical. But I did struggle to find nitpicks.
My nitpicks with sort of the time jump the lack of it with Ruby. The time jumps, the pacing is way off in places.
Especially
like, you get a really slow build to about like the half-hour point, and then the last 10-15 minutes is just like all the way through.
It is.
That's my main issue, is the pacing of it. I think, like I said, there should have been a two-part. You have the folk horror stuff in the pub, and then, it's very tense, very almost midnight. Ruby gets out of it, goes home, realises loses Carla, gets disowned and everything, works out that she needs to stop Gwilliam. Bam. Part 2 is the political, we learn more about Gwilliam, we learn more about the party of Albion, what they stand for, where they come from. Ruby then has to find some way of taking him down before realising nothing works. She has to use the woman. That's how I would have done that. Really flesh out the political stuff and do a separate episode. Just have part 1 horror, part 2 political. Have it all come together at the end. Doctor goes to that, and then afterwards you sort of go, oh, right, this is all reversed because Ruby managed to stop it, blah, blah, blah. And here we are.
Yeah.
Personally.
But
and a couple of other little nitpicks, like the fact that they wasted Sian
yeah.
Phillips and the weird abuse thing that just was a bit cheap. But
yeah, it was a bit slapdash, just chucking that in there because they can, sort of feel. But yeah, for me the main issue was the pacing, especially towards the end. And that's been
a common complaint for me this whole series, to be fair.
Yeah,
it was breakneck the whole time, but not in like, you can do breakneck stuff, but there comes a point where you need to have the slower, more reflective moments.
Yeah, and I get the feeling we will have them coming up. Not in the next episode. That just seems like it's going to be a bit of fun, really.
Yeah, I don't know much about the next episode. I think it's
the
another
social
one
media.
yeah,
bubble.
there's theories that it's social media related, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think this is the first one that Shooty filmed next week.
Yeah, properly.
Yeah, I think it will be because he's in the costume that they initially revealed, the checkered brown coat and trousers and an orange jumper.
Yeah.
And Ruby's in the same jumper that she's in that initial press thing as well. So yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see. But yeah, this one, the issues were more to do with the pacing. Some of the themes of it were a bit meh. Wasted a brilliant actress in Shannon Phillips. But apart from that, now I've figured it all out. I'm 8.5.
Fair.
Maybe even a 9. Maybe it'll go up, maybe it'll go down. That's the perks of doing this.
Yeah. Now, more importantly, what would you say is your favourite moment?
Oh, the highlight. Oh, God. I can't pick a specific... I mean, if I was to pick a shot, that memorial shot of the TARDIS where it's sort of overgrown and everything, that was really nice. I think probably the scenes in the pub, for me, just because they balance that tension and comedy really well.
Oh,
that sort of bait and switch type thing of it. That was probably my highlight, but I did really enjoy the vast majority of this. Sort of 80% of this was great. And even the stuff that I didn't really like, it was the thing I really hated. There's just stuff that sort of just got my back up a little bit.
Yeah, it didn't sit amazing.
But yeah, what about you? Your highlight?
It's got to be Cherry Sunday. It has to be.
She's only got like 2 lines in the whole episode as well.
No, like this episode was great, but I just really love Cherry Sunday. She's brilliant. It's the way she is, her mannerisms are incredible.
She's got a very animated performance, and she's playing someone who obviously we don't know exactly, but we assume she's bedbound.
Yeah.
You know, but she has a very animated performance within that. You know, she's like, I told you that man was no good for you with his box of tricks and everything. That was all great. So yeah. Well, there we are then.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the most divisive one. I think opinions on this it'll be one of those ones that I think will go up and down for a lot of different people over time as well.
Yeah.
It'd be one to be, you know, refresh ourselves on the retrospective that we do of season 1 at the end of the season.
Yeah, especially as Russell said, this is one of the main episodes as well, so it's really important to what goes on. So it would be nice to see how that ties in.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you still speaking?
Yeah. Sorry. But if you guys have, let us know your own opinions, whether you loved it, whether you hated it, whether you're somewhere in the middle, just let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, this was solid for us, I think. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know your thoughts. If you agree with us, great. If not, still great. So,
Whole vow.
ta-da for now.
I'm really sorry I interrupted you then.
It's alright. It's no problem. Oh, no, it's fine.
Bye.
Ta-ra.
Wow. I'm going to leave that in because I deserve that. Scared the willies out of me, man.